Welcome back to Squawk Box Live from Washington, D.C. Late last night, politicians approved a temporary deal to end the government shutdown, but without a big grand bargain on the budget. We could be back doing the same thing again early next year. Joining us now is Republican Senator from Arizona, John McCain. John, Senator, great to have you here. Thanks for joining us.
I'm glad you're down here in the city of Satan.
I know. I can feel right when I get into the county. I just feel a little bit. I don't know. I feel like spending some money. That's
or maybe
not mine.
taking a shower.
That's not mine. Yeah, exactly. When we were talking off camera, the likelihood of a repeat, in your view, is very small. People have learned. And when it happened in '95, it didn't happen again for
a long time, until everybody had forgotten how devastating this is. And, you know, I'm glad the government workers are back, and I'm sorry what was done to them and terrible. But what has been done to the civilian sector, the people who work for the concessionaires in the Grand Canyon? I mean, we had to fly food up there. I mean, it's so harmful, and not to mention the Americans' view of us. You know, I had this old line that we in Congress, we're down to blood relatives and paid staffers, you know. Right. I got a call from my 101-year-old mother yesterday. We're losing blood relatives.
You're even losing those, God bless her. How do we get there then? And so am I assuming a grand bargain's not going to happen?
I'm assuming that it probably won't happen because it's been tried so many times with all different gimmicks, you know, select committee, super committee, gang of numbers you want to fill in. Why don't we try the regular process? We have a budget committee. The House passes a budget, the Senate passes a budget. Then they confer and they come out with a budget. Why don't we try that for once? And I think that all of it, look, we all know that Republicans were punished the most by this, okay? But Democrats were too. The presidents were too. Everybody's numbers went down. And so there's reasons for them not to want to do this again as well.
You can work with this president, you think?
We can work with him. I think so. I worked with him on immigration reform and some other issues.
You've noticed a shift in terms. He's willing to talk to Republicans now as a legacy.
Yes. This president, like all presidents that have a second term, look at their legacy. And part of that has been he has had an outreach, invited Republicans to dinner. Where's attempts that there have been, I can't tell you how many meetings I've gone to on this, quote, grand bargain idea, which have all failed. But at least there's been an effort, which there certainly wasn't for the first 4 years.
There was not for the first 4 years.
No.
John Harwood has a...
Hello, John.
Hey, Senator, how are you?
All right.
I know that you have expressed, and Lindsey Graham and a few other Republicans, some willingness to consider the kind of a budget deal that would involve both entitlements and tax revenue. We had earlier on our show Grover Norquist, who said absolutely not a penny of additional revenue. Isn't it the case, or you tell me if it's the case, whose position is going to prevail in this on your side of the aisle, yours or Grover's?
Well, first of all, Grover and I are friends, and we've known each other for many years, and I respect him and all that. But when it's something like ethanol subsidies, which I have opposed forever, when it's some of these outrageous tax loopholes, when it's certain provisions which are put in by special interests, those are indefensible, John. And I'll go to the floor, I'll go anywhere and attack some of these provisions that have been put in by special interests here in Washington and say that we ought to repeal them, rather than wait till, quote, tax reform, which is some huge holy grail out there that we will probably never find. So all I can say is I was offended when we made some of those tax loopholes, and I'll be damn glad to close them.
Do you, I guess because you were in the news so much, the last-minute they need dams and look, all the Democrats want infrastructure. What's wrong with a little? You said, what do you call it? Disgusting to put the McConnell.
I'm not against infrastructure. I am for a process where we authorize, we have hearings, we say, okay, how badly do we need this dam versus that highway or that bridge or whatever it is, and then we go through the normal process of authorizing and votes, and then we give money. When it's snuck in something like this, it makes me just cringe. You know, why do it? It leaves a bad taste in your mouth. Really.
Yeah, and it just, you know, it seems like business as usual, and nobody's learning anything, and it doesn't. make you optimistic about other things
We
changing.
have done a great job in eliminating a lot of the pork barrel spending that used to be rampant around here. In fact, it was corruption, and there's a lot less of it. But this just shows not all of it's gone away.
So what's the next step? How do you see it? When should
The next step, I think, is the budget committees to meet.
Okay.
Remember that for 4 years, the Democrats in the Senate refused to pass a budget. Then they did, and then a handful of Republicans here in the Senate refused to appoint conferees so we could go to a budget conference. Now we're going to go to a budget conference. That should be our first effort. I've been a member of all these, quote, gangs, not all of them, but many of them, and they're just ad hoc meetings and gatherings because the normal process hasn't worked. Let's go back to trying to get the normal process to work.
Andrew.
Hey, Senator, real quick, the role of John Boehner in these discussions going forward. He's staked out the middle ground, but oftentimes some of his critics have said that he has let some of the real right wing of his party, take over. Do you think that he plays it a little harder next time?
I think that the American people are going to demand that we not do this again, which I think would strengthen John Boehner's hand. He is dependent upon the votes of all of his conference. I admire John Boehner and I appreciate his work, but I think he was put in a very untenable position. Look, when you got 74% of the American people disapproving of Republicans, even everybody but the most hard right extremists realize that we got to do things different. And one thing for openers is start giving a positive message to the American people of what we're going to do for them. You remember the shutdown back in '95. You also remember the contract with America. Let's give them a new contract. Let's give them something where we says, look, we're going to be for this, not that we're going to shut down the government and we're going to stop everything. Americans don't like government, but we sure showed them again that they don't like it shut down.
All right, Senator, thank you. I have a tax refund check that because of the government shutdown.
I may run for re-election, and maybe you could give it to my campaign.
Can you just check someone and say, is it like sitting something? Now the government's open it up. Anyway, I'll talk to him about this, guys.
Maybe so. Maybe. Do you need a bridge?
Put that in the bill that I get my tax. Back to you, Pat.
Joe, Senator, thank you very much.